Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the January 13th, 2020 County Commission meeting. I'm going to call on Chief Deputy John Smith to call our meeting to order. If you would, please remain standing for the pledge led by Commissioner Bill and our invocation by Commissioner Creek.
All rise. Oh yes, this Honorable Board of County Commission now stands in session pursuant to adjournment. May God save this state and its Honorable Board of County Commissioners.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father and our God, we thank you for your love and your watch care. We thank you for how you've blessed Montgomery County with the leadership that's been provided. We pray for those that are in need, those that are searching for employment, those that need shelter and food. We thank you for this legislative body, and we just pray as we vote tonight, if there is any difference between the votes, that we respect one another's views. It says in the Bible, trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. For in all thy ways acknowledge him, and thou shalt direct thy paths. It says that in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Amen.
Amen. I believe everyone has registered their attendance. Ms. Jackson, would you please read the attendance roll?
You have 20 present and 1 absent.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, our first item of business is a presentation of the Small Business Administration Disaster Field Operations Center East. Ms. Doris Evans. Ms. Evans, if you would come to the microphone here. I think we announced, you probably got some information. I think you have some information on your desk. Ms. Evans will brief you on that.
I do. Thank you very much. First, I want to start with some thank yous. I want to thank your emergency manager, Mr. Baggett, for his wonderful assistance. I also want to thank Shelley for making it possible for me to be here tonight. And I also want to thank the mayor, Mayor Durrett, and also the county commissioner for allowing me some time to come in and to speak with you about disaster assistance. As you know, October the 26th, a tropical storm came through Montgomery County. It came into the top of Middle Tennessee, and it went down to the bottom to McNairy County and on into Alcorn, Mississippi. As a result of that, the governor of Tennessee requested disaster assistance, and Montgomery County was one of four primary counties where there was enough damage for disaster assistance. FEMA was not, it didn't meet the threshold for FEMA, but it did meet the threshold for disaster assistance for the SBA. And the SBA is a low-interest disaster loan program. And our program, we're Office of Disaster Assistance. We're one of several divisions of the Small Business Administration. And a lot of history. SBA's been around since 1953. The purpose for the SBA is to come into disaster areas where there's been a request, standard protocol for governors of states where there's been storm damage and where residents and businesses may not have insurance or not enough insurance. So that's the reason that we're here. And we also, and we're being hosted, by Montgomery County. Once again, thank you. We have a center set up at the location. Just a second, we have several going on centers here. For Montgomery County, we're at the William O. Beach Civic Hall Veterans Plaza. We actually have a staff of SBA representatives there that are there to assist disaster survivors in the area that may have had damage, may have lost businesses, may have had loss of damages as well as loss of income. The hours are from Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the deadline to apply for disaster assistance is February the 2nd. We're going to be here for 2 weeks. So after we exit the area, you still will be able to apply for disaster assistance. And, my message is let's get it out to the community. Unfortunately, it's been a while, for us getting here, but we are here and we're on the ground running. And I also want to thank the media too, the local media here, as well as we've got some hits out of Nashville also about getting the word out. And one of the reasons why disaster assistance is so important is that whenever a disaster occurs, businesses, homeowners, renters, and nonprofits, those are the targets for SBA's loan program. You're not no one is expecting a disaster to happen. So businesses may not have enough business interruption insurance or not enough. Homeowners may not have enough homeowners insurance or not enough. Same things with renters, nonprofits. So with SBA coming into the area, if we are able to assist, then it's going to be one less business building that's left vacant, one less home that's abandoned, one less renter that doesn't have a place to go. So our effort is to try to, it's not a perfect program, but it's one that's dedicated to trying to help communities recover after a disaster. And as I said before, there are 4 areas: homeowners, renters, businesses, and nonprofit organizations. There are 2 types of loans. One of them is physical damage for real estate damage, personal property losses, or machinery and equipment. And the second loan I cannot say enough about because it affects businesses, which are the heart of any community. That is our economic injury loan. That loan is not as time sensitive to apply, so businesses and nonprofits that may have suffered a loss, you are eligible to apply. You have until September. In addition to my outreach work in Montgomery County, I'm also doing contiguous counties, Robertson, Stewart, and Cheatham, and over in Kentucky, Kristen and Todd. And we also have 3 other centers that are open down the middle of Middle Tennessee in McNairy County, Humphreys County, and Decatur County. Those areas were also hit by this tropical storm, and there are a total of 14 contiguous counties in addition to the 4 primary counties in Tennessee that were affected, and 2 counties in Kentucky and 1 county in Mississippi, Alcorn. So I just want to get the word out, and please get it out to your constituents. We're here. It's taken us a while to get here, but we're here, and thank you.
Ms. Evans, any questions of Ms. Evans? Any commissioners have any questions of Ms. Evans? Commissioner Beal?
Thank you, Ms. Evans, for bringing this information to us. Very quick question. What kind of response have you received from Montgomery County so far?
In regards to residents in the center, so far as today, they've seen a total of 14 people, which is good. It's coming along. I will have some up-to-date numbers from all of the counties tomorrow. So basically, right now, we're at about 14 people that have been in. So our biggest thing I find whenever I come into disaster areas is getting the word out. And that's through the media, through our key stakeholders in the community, elected officials. We go to our chambers for businesses. We go to our small business development centers. We go to libraries. My outreach is once I leave, everyone should know that the SBA has been here.
Thank you, ma'am. Any
Thank
more
you.
questions, Commissioner Pritchard?
Ma'am, you said you've been here how long?
I arrived here first of all, I initially came once, the declaration was actually declared December the 18th. So our office is actually opened up January the 8th. I actually came in from Atlanta on the 19th. I was here for a couple of days doing strategic planning as to where we needed to place people because it was a little, Mother Nature knows, it does what it wants, but looking at the storm and trying to reach the counties, it needed a little bit of planning in order to get the right people in the right places to be able to work with the time frame that we have.
Okay, thank you. I urge all our county commissioners to get the word out. There are a lot of people that have yet to have heard this and would be able to take advantage of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Ms. Evans, thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Our first item of business is approval of the December 9th, 2019 minutes. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Gannon, second. Commissioner Ray, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Zoning Resolution CZ 19-2019, application of William and Emily Shropshire from C1 to AG. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Knight, second. Commissioner Rasnick, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 21-1, resolution of Montgomery County Board of Commissioners authorizing lease of computers. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Bryant, second. Commissioner Pritchard, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstentions.
Resolution 21-2, resolution of Montgomery County Board of Commissioners approving amendments to the 2019-20 school budget. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Chandler, second. Commissioner Riccone. Any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 21-3, resolution of Montgomery County Board of Commissioners to amend Resolution 19-110, adopting term limits for various committees. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Lewis, second. Commissioner Keene, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstentions.
Resolution 21-4 is a resolution to donate a 0.31 acre parcel in the South Industrial Park to the city of Clarksville for a police precinct. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Gannon, second. Commissioner Johnson. Commissioners, the caption, actually, in two places in this, the actual acreage is 0.13. So the caption needs to be changed and the fifth whereas needs to be changed. Would somebody like to make an amendment to change that number from 0.31 to 0.13? Would you please just state it if you, Commissioner Gannon?
I'd like to change the verbiage on there to say 0.13 acres instead of 0.31, please.
Throughout.
Throughout.
Is there a second?
resolution.
Commissioner Harper, second. Any discussion? Commissioner Pritchard? No, that y'all were both hitting on the motion. I'm sorry. He beat you to it. He's Family Feud man, I guess. Okay, so we're going to vote on the amendment. And the amendment is to change it from 0.31 to 0.13. Throughout. If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstentions.
Now we're voting on 21-4 as amended. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Beal, second. Commissioner Knight, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 21-5, resolution to appropriate funding for the purchase of engraved brick pavers using funding from bond proceeds dedicated for art purchases. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Joe Smith, second. Commissioner Keene, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 21-6, a resolution requesting improvements to State Route 237 Rossview Road from east of International Boulevard to Hayes Lane from the state of Tennessee, Tennessee Department of Transportation. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Lewis, second. Commissioner Rasnick. Commissioner Beal, I think you know what, go right ahead, sir.
On our informal agenda, it was labeled as State Route 236, so that does need to be changed.
Would you like to make a motion to change throughout to State Route 236?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second to that? Commissioner Gannon? Commissioner Harper, any discussion?
Not on that, no.
Okay. So we're now voting on 21-6 as amended to State Route 236 throughout the resolution. I'm sorry, 237. So it's amended to 237 throughout. Thank you. We're now voting on that. If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstentions.
Now we're voting on 21-6 as amended. Let me get a motion, Commissioner Harper, if you would. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Riccone, second. Commissioner Joe Smith. Commissioner Harper.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to have a little understanding as to what's going to happen on Rossview Road from Warfield out to International Boulevard. Is that whole section under the city's being widened?
It is.
That whole section?
No. The section that the city's looking at widening is from Powell Road to west of Cardinal Lane.
So that would leave portions from Warfield out to the interstate that would still be just 2 lanes?
Well, it would be a portion of, from Cardinal Lane, which is to the west side of the Rossview campus, from wherever that improvement stops all the way out to Warfield. It's a pretty good section of it still to be left improved, that is unimproved.
And essentially everything from the interstate on the other side, International Boulevard, out to Hayes Lane would then be widened.
That's correct.
But we're not widening the whole thing. Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
And I know Commissioner Bill asked the question last Monday night. Mayor Pitts confirmed that they hope to start construction on the city portion from Powell Road or the interstate to west of Cardinal Lane this spring. Commissioner Bill.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I was actually going to, I was going to address that. My biggest concern with this is I don't want us to have a situation, because traffic is already bad out there, where the city's doing their portion and the county's doing their portion at the same time. So based on the information that I received, we're looking at about an 18-month completion. So if we're starting in May, that would put us around November, December of th-21. So will this, the work on this under this resolution, will that start before then?
No. No. This portion has not been designed. There's been no right-of-way determination. It's been none of that. So you have to go through environmental. Then you'll have to, once the environmental's approved, you'll have to go into design. Once you've done design, you'll have to go into right-of-way acquisition. Then you'll have to go in construction. I would estimate that we'd be lucky to start construction by the year 2022.
Would it be proper to ask for an amendment to place that condition on this?
I personally wouldn't place a condition on it, because if you could get it quicker, I'd get it.
Okay. I just don't want to see something worse off than what we already have down there. That's all I'm saying. So, I mean, if you can guarantee that we won't start work on this until after the city's portion is done,
I can't
I'm okay with
guarantee it,
that.
but I can about assure you that the state just does not work that quick. I mean, the design of of this project, once it gets through environmental, which could be 6 to 8 months, but the design of this section will probably take 8 months to 9 months. And so, you know, you're talking about that maybe starting, the design potentially starting in May, because it's January now. You have to go through the RFP process to get an engineer in place. I just don't see any way possible that the two would be under construction concurrently.
okay, thank you.
Commissioner Harper?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm back again.
Sir?
I'm back again.
Okay.
I know it's perhaps not our venue, but I'm going to go ahead and express this. 13 years ago, I moved from Rossview Road area out there. That's a 2-lane section out to Sango, specifically because of traffic problems. I got serious reservations about why we want to do a project, and we need to work together, city and the county both, to widen all sections from Warfield at least out to the interstate. I got serious reservations about that. I know it doesn't apply to what we're talking about tonight, and I realize that, but I just want to voice a concern that we do projects together and we do projects that are proactive. And once again, there's no detriment here to our amendment, but I just want to voice that in public.
And I'll just quickly address that. I know Mayor Pitts is working on something from a transportation standpoint. I don't want to say what he's working on because that's his, but we are discussing options on doing exactly what you've talked about. So I'm not sure what we voted on, Ms. Jackson. Are we still waiting to vote on as amended?
Yes, sir. We've passed the
Okay.
amendment. We're back to the original as amended.
If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 21-7 is a resolution amending the budget of the Montgomery County Information Technology Department in amount not to exceed $125,000 for the purchase of software and equipment for the commission chambers discussion and voting system. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Leverett, second. Commissioner Knight, any discussion? Commissioners, I do have some information for you. It was asked last Monday night, would this address the closed captioning on our feed? It will not. And I want to, first of all, give a thanks to Mr. Burchett in our IT department, and also to our county attorney, Mr. Harvey, who has become the resident IT expert, for the work that they've done on this. There's really two issues at hand. Number one is if somebody walks into this chamber and they're hearing impaired, we don't have a mechanism. Let me correct myself. We do have a mechanism, but it's not always in place. And so we react based on somebody saying they're going to come and they have hearing impaired and they need some help. And when we do that, we engage a service called CART, and they provide that service for us. And so to do that, I personally believe that that service should be available at all times. I don't think that somebody should have to call and say, hey, I'm coming to your meeting, I'm hearing impaired, I need you to accommodate me. I think that accommodation should be here all the time. So to do that is roughly $4,500. And the accuracy rate on that closed captioning is about 99.8%. So it's almost perfect. It's not guaranteed perfect, but it's almost perfect. Skip, if I say anything wrong, jump up and wave your hand. So the other concern that we have is people are addressing, or some people have voiced concerns about our streaming service and the closed captioning that's associated with it. As you all know, our streaming service is a delayed service. Sometimes closed captioning is available 20 minutes after we start. Sometimes it could be up to 24 hours. That closed captioning is a service that's free, that's provided by YouTube. The accuracy rate on that's about 70%. If you look and if you go and watch it, they spell my name Dirt, D-I-R-T. A lot of people think I am that. That's okay, but that's the way they spell my name. But if you're having just a simple conversation of, I would like to amend because I like this, that's usually 100%. It's really just, I think they're using some voice-connected software. We can correct that, and we can correct that for $4,000. And it will have good accuracy, and it will be instantaneous, even though our live stream is delayed. As soon as it starts, that service would be available on that as well. It's totally up to this commission on if you want to do either one of them. I strongly recommend the $4,500 for the CART service. I think that's something that we should have available to us at all times, or to someone that may need it. And so with that being said, it's per year as well. Commissioner Beal.
That was my question, if that was per year, if that was a total cost.
It's per year.
Okay.
And the $4,000 service is up to 100 hours. And so if we had a meeting like we had on our budget that lasted 4 or 5 hours, we'd eat up a lot of time. But typically, that would get us through probably 2 years, maybe longer than that, for the second service. Commissioner Knight.
This whole topic I brought up to the county attorney last year sometime, and he explained the costs to me. But can't recall, what is the cost to have, and what is the feasibility to have a live interpreter here to interpret what's going on?
It's just something, I don't know that we ever got a cost on that.
You mean someone who does sign language?
Yes, sir.
Sign language? Well, we would just have to price it, Commissioner, and see what we could pay, what it would cost in the marketplace. One of this generated from an ADA question, looking at what's our accurate compliance. This CART service is frankly favored over sign language because it is a instantaneous word process. If respectfully, there are lots of ways to deliver auxiliary services to persons who have a disability, and sometimes you pick the one that you think is best. We only price the CART service. So we did not price literally someone standing here and doing sign language.
And the only reason why I ask, it kind of eliminates the margin of error for some of the closed captioning on the YouTube that's provided. If you have someone up here actually conducting the live sign language interpretation, then whoever's watching who may need that service can see it at any time and see it live versus having to wait that 20-minute time frame that it's going to take for YouTube to apply that closed captioning service.
All of the mayor's comments were correct on all of the information we have, which includes a projected production level of at least 90%, much higher, near 99% for the in-chambers facility with CART, 90% going out on the YouTube. So that's a pretty high percentage. The flaws in anything routinely are the unique names like Durrett, to use the example. So I think this answers increasing the production rate to a 90% accuracy at least, and higher on the in-chambers one. But we did not price someone actually doing sign language.
I was just advised that Circuit Court has one available and it's $200 an hour.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Gannon?
So are you looking for a motion to add the CART and the other ones, the $8,500 a year? So if that's so, that I'd like to make an amendment that we add both of those services, the $4,500 and the $4,000, in order to have closed caption on both feeds.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gannon to add both the CART service and what's the other name of the other service, Skip? And the EEG service for closed captioning service to amend 21-7 by $8,500. That's your motion, Commissioner. Is there a second? Commissioner Beal? Any discussion on the amendment? Commissioner Beal on the amendment? Oh, okay, they cleared you off. If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. We're now voting on 21-7 as amended. Any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 21-8, resolution to acquire certain real estate located on Needmore Road, Clarksville, Tennessee, for the purpose of a new animal care and control facility. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Harper, second. Commissioner Keene, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 16 yeses, 4 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 21-9 is initial resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $32,900,000 in general obligation bonds of Montgomery County, Tennessee. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Pritchard, second. Commissioner Gannon, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 2110, resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of Montgomery County, Tennessee in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $32,900,000 in one or more series, making provisions for the issuance, sale, and payment of said bonds, establishing the terms thereof and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, and providing for the levy of taxes for the payment of principal, of premium, if any, and interest on bonds. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Riccone, is there a second? Commissioner Gannon, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Under old business, deferred from December, Resolution 1912-9, resolution by the Montgomery County, Tennessee Commission ratifying the Clarksville, Montgomery County 2040 Growth Plan and forwarding it to the Tennessee Local Government Planning Advisory Committee for consideration. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Lewis, second. Commissioner Riccone, any discussion? Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So after the deferral on last month, I requested of the directors Truitt, Tyndall, and Tate to meet with me to discuss the growth plan. And I'd like to thank those gentlemen for taking the time out to meet with me. Director Truitt actually showed up on crutches, so that shows his dedication to coming out and helping us to wade through this. I also want to thank the members of the committee who took the time and did all the hard work to put this together. I must say that our discussion that we had was a bit of a jackrabbit conversation. We kind of hopped all over the place. You almost needed a scorecard to keep up with it. But I still have problems with it. Honestly, I think that District 19 needs to be looked at again. There are still issues, there are still problems. I have great issue with having an urban growth boundary on the north side of the industrial park. So you have the city limits, then you have an area that is unable to be annexed, and then you will have annexable property on the other side. Also, I feel like this property will, if you are to allow for multifamily developments and small lot subdivisions in this area, that puts basically a lid on the IDB and how far they can expand with their industrial area. If you put houses and apartments in an area, I'd like to know which industry is going to want to come in and put their factory there. When we close off this area and it is no longer of any use for industry, where will we put our industry? The answers that I got for some of these questions were that we are looking to get different types of employment in Montgomery County and in an attempt to get away from so much industrial. But honestly, I believe if Dell showed up and said, we want to build a factory and put computers together, I don't think anyone's going to turn them away. I think we'll be looking for somewhere to go. And in the conversations, it appears that the next logical place would be the Robertson County, Montgomery County line area. In which case you have people that, now these are not people that built their home a quarter mile from the city limits and think they're gonna have a country lifestyle. These are people that are 12, 13, 14 miles from the city limits. And now you will invade their homes with businesses and factories and industrial developments. And honestly, the reach of the urban growth boundary out into the area, way out into the Kirkwood area, I think it goes too far. This growth plan, as stated, was to have balanced growth. This idea is so that we do not have unchecked growth across the county. This is to do away with urban sprawl. But honestly, what it appears to be is we are allowing the growth to dictate where we zone. That's counterproductive. That's the opposite of what we're supposed to do. I mean, what this shows me is people want to live over there. So even though we are maxed on our infrastructure in that area, we are now going to make it easier to zone for more people to be there, instead of making it more difficult for people to pack into that area and make it more accessible in some of the areas that are more suitable for higher traffic. That's not what we're doing with this. I appreciate the work that everyone did on this, and I talked to 19 commissioners. I didn't talk to 21 because 2 of the commissioners are on the board. One could vote, the other one could not. But of the 19 commissioners that I talked to, 16 of them had no idea that once the committee had their final meeting that there could not be any changes. I'm in the 16. Number 17 knew about it, but he heard about it from a constituent. He did not get that here. The people that were sat on this board did not stand in this room and take an oath to do their job to the best of their ability for the district that they represent. We did. We did that. And I think that when something is this big, it behooves us on a great level to make sure that the voice of the people is heard. And that's our job. That's why we're here. That's what we do. And if that's not what you're willing to do, you're in the wrong room. I feel that there should have been, at very least, a roundtable with the commissioners to where something could have been said, because the representative from CEMC, the representative from Gas and Water, the representative from the realtors, the representative from the big landowners, they don't represent the people. That's what we're supposed to do. And I think that we should have gotten more of an opportunity to do that. Now, I understand that this takes a 2/3 negative vote to return it to committee. Whether we're going to get that tonight, I don't know. I would like to ask that my fellow commissioners join me so that we can do this. I know that this needs to be voted down for cause. And trying to find out what would be acceptable as cause it kind of gives me a thought of the kid that wants to run off and join the circus, but his parents want him to be a doctor. So he has to ask his parents, how do I join the circus? What kind of answer do you think he's going to get? So kind of had to wing this a little bit, but if I were to label a cause for this action, it would be because of the lack of proper dissemination of information regarding the implementation and procedure of producing the growth plan for 2040 in Montgomery County. And I hope that my fellow commissioners will join me in this. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith, Joe?
I take a little bit of offense to Commissioner Johnson's statement saying that this was not put out there. These were public meetings, every single one of them. We had several. The committee that was on there did a lot of work. And even though I was not a voting member on that committee, I went ahead and I never shied away from picking up that red marker and Xing out certain parts of the UGB to decrease the acreage of UGB or PGAs in this map. What I will ask is how many meetings did Commissioner Johnson attend? And I want to say that number is 0. So yes, you can sit here and talk about something and that you don't like something on the back end of it, but unless you attended those meetings, which were open to the public and all the commissioners, I would say that it's not fair to Mr. Truitt's team, or not Mr. Truitt, Mr. Tyndall's team at the RPC, who spent countless number of man hours pulling stats and data, printing maps and bringing them to those meetings and posting the meetings and putting them out there for all of the constituents and residents of Montgomery County to see every single time, but you never attended those meetings. I would urge everybody to vote for this. I think we've done a lot of work on decreasing the amount of acreage in each zone, whether it's the UGB or the PGAs. And I think it's a smart growth plan. I think there's a lot of unfactual information floating out there about annexation and those sort of things, that just because it's in the UGB, it can be annexed right into the city, and that is not the case. The UGB typically follows where the utility growth is already in place. And so that's where you see those UGB lines kind of stretch out further, especially in my district down 41A South and in Commissioner Johnson's district out in District 19, because the industrial park does have great utility flow out there. So that's the reason you see the UGBs in those areas extended a little further out than other places. But what I will ask is don't sit here and bash a plan that you chose, is what I will say, not to attend the meetings on. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson, I'm going to go to Commissioner Beal first because he hasn't spoke yet, but I'll come back to you. Commissioner Beal.
Thank you. I will actually keep my comments very short and sweet, but the topic of the UGB and annexation came up, and Mr. Tyndall knows my concerns about the UGB and about annexation, and I don't know about the rest of you guys, but when it comes to a decision or input being made on annexation by a city council that does not represent people outside of the city limits, and essentially county commissioners have 0 input in it, that's where my concern is. To me, that makes 0 sense. I think the county commission should have just as much input as city council on that. So that's why that's why I will be voting no on this as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson, I'm going to come back to you. Commissioner Knight.
I'm just going to say that I agree with both sides, and if there's any type of reservations in regards to a plan as intricate as this, then I think it should go back to the drawing board so that individuals can take a re-look at it, get it refined, and then push it back out so that this body can vote on it. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in response to the words of my esteemed colleague, Commissioner Smith, I realize that we have some commissioners here that are not quite as long in the tooth, shall I say, as some of the others. Typically, in projects that come through this body, we discuss it at the beginning, and we allow the group that is putting it together to do their job without our meddling. We don't put our spoons in the pot and start stirring before it's time. We wait until it's over, and then it's presented to us, and then we suggest or make changes as it goes. When we have something that is this big, that it encompasses all of Montgomery County, such as the budget, we have a roundtable at the end so that the commissioners can make their comments, make their statements, make their changes, make their suggestions. We do not tamper with it as it is ongoing. And I believe from the response that I got from my fellow commissioners as I was talking to them, that had the 16 commissioners that did not know that this would be a lock and key operation at the end of the last meeting, had we known that that was the situation, we would have been present at more of the meetings. If you only have one chance to make your opinion known, you have to take the chance when you get it. No one knew. I watched every presentation that was given on this subject. I rewound every YouTube feed and I watched every one, and it was not stated in this room. And one thing I can say for sure is that Commissioner Smith did not make sure that I know that either. Until last week after the deferral, when he heard me speaking to Director Tyndall and talking to him about making changes. So we find ourselves again where we were when I last said that I was finished talking. Nothing has changed. There are still 17 of us that had no idea that we had a closed window when we could speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
I want to kind of just address that last little part. There can be changes made. As a matter of fact, this body that sits right here made an amendment to the previous growth plan. When we first got in office, we made an amendment so that the city of Clarksville could annex a sports complex at Exit 8. So changes can be made to this plan. It just takes an amendment and the vote of this entire body. This is not a signed, sealed, this is the only way it goes kind of plan. We just have to vote on it again if it does decide to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 13 yeses, 7 nos, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 19-1212. I've talked to Mr. House about this. He has requested that we pull it from the agenda, but I do think Mr. House wants to address, do you want to do that tonight, Mr. House? To address his rationale, or I'll just let him talk. How's that? Did I call you Commissioner House?
I don't know what you call me.
I'm sorry if I did.
If this works out well, you can call me whatever you want to call me about that. But thank you, Mayor. There have been a few concerns that have come up in reference to the potential of this purchase. I've heard those concerns from particular commissioners over the course of time. There's also been an idea that came up from one commissioner, talked to the mayor about it as well, that would allow us to possibly ask for the funding or receive the funding to build an addition at the current Barksdale Elementary. This is not something that we thought about before because it could be a tad bit more expensive to do. The core of that building might have to be expanded a hint versus a $4 million expense. It could be a $5 million expense. Project could take a little bit longer as well, but our purpose is to get the necessary classrooms so that we can move forward with the growth of the immersion program. That program, I think, opened up enrollment just in the last few days, and we're close to closing enrollment on it already, so it's a very popular in-demand program. We took a close look at it, and we're running the numbers, and we're going to get those numbers to you as quick as we can in terms of exactly what it should look like. But I just wanted to offer some quick perspective in terms of the why. We're listening to those concerns and want to be able to make the right kind of pivot to do what's necessary to get a facility in place.
Thank you, Mr. House.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Woodruff.
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. House, the current facility that we are looking at, Immanuel Life Center, will it support what you're trying to do?
It would.
One question.
It would.
I wholeheartedly support this facility because I think it's a dying need for Clarksville based on our system being overloaded and backlogged. Everything from our court system to our 911 system to our EMS to our fire. If you go to the DMV, We're talking about maybe a 3 or 4 hours wait. And because there was no Spanish-speaking person in that facility until about 2 months ago. A friend of mine got a job there, and that system was so far backlogged, it haven't even caught up with that one person. So these kids, I think, is going to do well. Going to be an additive to Clarksville and Montgomery County, not only there, across the nation. And I believe that it's going from the age is going to be, or the grade level is going to be from 1 to 5. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And they're going to be able to speak, read, and write Spanish. Is that right?
Correct. They're
Okay.
immersed in Spanish.
I think that's going to add to our education system here. And I asked all of our commissioners to support this facility being purchased. Thank you. That's all I'm going to say.
Now, what I will say, just kind of in response, being that this option came up that we did not think would come up, as we looked at it, we currently have PE teachers, special education teachers, art teachers already at Barksdale. So in the long run, it's going to save taxpayers quite a bit of money. If we moved over to the Immanuel Life Center, we would have to purchase, the county would have to purchase PE teacher, several other teachers. So those supports are extremely important. But when this option, if you put the two options next to each other, we didn't have the option in the beginning, but when you put the option next to each other and look at it 3 to 5 years out, it becomes a savings when it's all said and done.
Commissioner Knight?
I just want to say thank you for doing the due diligence to do all the research and, find an alternate facility. And just as a point of clarification, are you requesting us to pull this from our agenda?
Correct. After the conversation that Mayor and I had, that's definitely what we think is more feasible for in the best interest of taxpayers.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Commissioner Pritchard?
Mr. House, this program, is it expandable? And with the facilities that you're looking at putting it in, is that going to be flexible enough for the near future?
So the program is a program that we're growing out. We grow by 40 students annually, and in total growth, it would be K through 5th grade. So the idea would be to have at least 12 classrooms to grow into, which Immanuel Life Center had, which is what we would look for in an addition to grow into as well.
Commissioner Woodruff?
Yes, I'm sorry, make sure I understand. You're saying that the Barksdale is a better option over Immanuel Life? Is it?
Financially, over the course of time, it is. On the front end, it's going to be more expensive, but over the course of time, because you're adding more teachers, PE teachers, especially those auxiliary teachers, that is more expensive. And also, the upkeep for a smaller facility will be more expensive as well. We knew that on the front end, but again, didn't know this option was there.
Okay, because it kind of threw me off because, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. House.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda are reports, the county clerk's report. This will require commission approval. Ms. Jackson, would you like to read your report?
Comes Kelly A. Jackson, County Clerk, Montgomery County, Tennessee, and presents the County Clerk's report for the month of December 2019. I hereby request that the persons named on the list of new applicants to the office of Notary Public be elected. The oaths of the deputy county officials are approved as taken. This report shall be spread upon the minutes of the Board of County Commissioners. You received your list of new applicants for notaries last Monday. There were none that were signed by personal surety, and you do not have any names that need to be read into the minutes for bond purposes.
Is there a motion for approval for the clerk's report? Commissioner Bill, second. Commissioner Creek. Any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Commissioners, you'll see under your reports filed, there's 3 new ones. Actually, number 5, the Highway Department, the road system list, that has been placed in your drop box that will require approval. of the commission. Is there a motion for approval to approve the Highway Department road system list? Commissioner Pritchard, second. Commissioner Johnson, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 nos, or abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Nominating committee nominations. Commissioner Gannon, the floor is yours.
The nominating committee met last week, and we would like to enter the following nominations in as a motion. The Agriculture Extension Committee, which is a 2 to a 3-year term, Commissioner Ricky Ray has been filling an unexpired term of Joe Wayant and is eligible to be reappointed for a 2-year term to expire January of 2022. Commissioner Arnold Hodges is nominated to replace Garland Johnson for a 2-year term to expire January of 2022. Robert Leonard Atkins is nominated to replace Danny Green to serve his first-year term to expire January of 2022, and Laura Sly is eligible to serve another 2-year term to expire January of 2022. Jail and Juvenile Detention Center, a 2-year term. Commissioner Chris Rasnick has been filling an unexpired term of Martha Brockman and is eligible to be reappointed for a 2-year term to expire January of 2022. Commissioner Rashida Leverett has been filling an unexpired term of Tommy Vallejos and is eligible for reappointment for a 2-year term to expire January of 2022. The Museum Board, a 3-year term. Commissioner Joe Creek has been filling an unexpired term of Larry Riccone and is eligible to be reappointed for his first 3-year term to expire January of 2023. The Nominating Committee, a 2-year term. Commissioner Jerry Albert has been filling an unexpired term of Robert Gibbs and is eligible to be reappointed for a 2-year term to expire January of 2022. Commissioner Charlie Keene has been filling the unexpired term of Tommy Vallejos and is eligible to be reappointed for a 2-year term to expire January of 2022. Economic and Community Development Board, a 4-year term. Jeff Purvis is nominated to fill an unexpired term of Russell Atkins with term to expire January 30th of 2021. School Liaison, 2-year term. Commissioner Loretta Bryan has been filling an unexpired term of Wallace Redd and is in the School Committee District Number 3, which is the commission districts of 6, 7, 13, and 16, and is eligible for reappointment for a 2-year term to expire January of 2022. Commissioner Garland Johnson is nominated to replace David Harper to serve the School Committee District Number 1, which include Districts 1, 3, 15, and 19, for a 2-year term to January of 2022. Commissioner Ricky Ray is nominated to replace Jerry Albert to serve Commissioner District Number 2, which consists of Districts 4, 5, 20, and 21, for a 2-year term to expire January of 2022. And Commissioner Josh Beal is nominated to replace Charlie Keene to serve School Committee District Number 4, which includes District 2, 14, 17, and 18, for a 2-year term to expire January of 2022. The Board of Health, a 4-year term. Catherine Meeks is nominated to replace Donald Bo Battles as a graduate pharmacist representative and recommended by the Pharmacists Association for a 4-year term to expire January of 2023, and we enter all those in as a motion.
Is there a second? Commissioner Lewis, any discussion on the Nominating Committee nominations? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 18 yeses, 0 nos, 2 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Under County Mayor nominations, without any objection, I'll read, there's 3 of them, and we'll vote on them all at once. Animal Care and Control Committee, 2-year term. Commissioner Jason Knight's been filling the unexpired term of Brandon Butts, is nominated to fill a 2-year term to expire January 2022. Sheriff's Office Representative is nominated to fill the unexpired term of Jesse Nugent with a 2-year term expiring January 2022. Stephen Hoffmeister is nominated as an at-large member to replace John Rudolph for a 2-year term expiring January 2022. And Dr. Ben Howard, as a veterinarian, is nominated to serve his second 2-year term to expire January 2022. Purchasing Committee, Commissioner Arnold Hodges, nominated to replace Commissioner Chandler for a 1-year term, expire January 2021. Commissioner Tangi Smith, nominated to replace Commissioner Pritchard for a 1-year term to expire January 2021. Commissioner Ricky Ray, nominated to replace Commissioner Beal for a 1-year term to expire January 2021. Commissioner James Lewis, nominated to replace Commissioner Leverett for a one-year term to expire January 2021. And Public Building Authority, Commissioner Riccone has been serving the unexpired term of Minerva Harris and is nominated to serve a full 6-year term to expire December 2025. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Beal, second. Commissioner Gannon, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 18 yeses, 0 nos, 2 abstentions.
Commissioners, under county mayor appointments, we have 2 that are required for commission approval without objection. I'll read both of those at the same time or concurrently. Budget Committee, Commissioner John Gannon appointed to replace Commissioner Garland Johnson for a 1-year term to expire January 2021. Commissioner Rashida Leverett appointed to replace Commissioner Ricky Ray for a 1-year term to expire January 2021. And Commissioner Charlie Keene is reappointed for a 1-year term to expire January 2021. Under the 911 Emergency Communications District Board, Elizabeth Henley is reappointed to a 2-year term, expire January 2022. Gino Grubb is reappointed to a 2-year term to expire January 2022. Commissioner David Harper is reappointed to serve a 4-year term to expire January 2024. Chief John Smith is reappointed to serve a 4-year term to expire January 2024. Jimmy Winters, reappointed to serve a 4-year term to expire January 2024. And Mark Warzenak is reappointed to serve a 4-year term to expire January 2024. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Knight, second. Commissioner Rasnick, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 17 yeses, 0 nos, 3 abstentions.
Under Stormwater Board of Appeals does not require commission approval. Under mayor appointments, Grant Shaw as a lay member is reappointed to serve a 2-year term expiring January 2022. Alan Caldwell as a lay member is reappointed to serve a 2-year term expiring January 2022. And Stanley Calhoun as an alternate is reappointed to serve a 2-year term to expire January 2022. And those are the county mayor appointments. You'll see on your announcements, the mayor's power breakfast is tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. at Wilma Rudolph Event Center. With no further business, I'm going to call on Chief Deputy John Smith to adjourn the meeting.
All rise. Oh, yes, this Honorable Board of County Commission now stands adjourned. May God save this state and its Honorable Board of County Commissioners.